Il me manque une main. Si j'avais une commande à faire, une mutation génétique, parce qu'on mange tout que j'avais dans ça, le troisième main. Ça, c'est possible. Mais tu serais lié, souvent, tu n'aurais pas accès à ta part.
C'est vrai parce que c'est la même.
Peut-être qu'il y a un peu c'est dégueulasse.
Mais tu sais, je regarde bien.
Mais tu sais, je peux en faire.
Ben oui. Ben oui. C'est les codes de. C'est quoi les.
Oui, les sacs.
Les sacs, exactement. Oui, tu vas te faire dans un sac avec une ouverture.
Ça, ces affaires-là. Ouais, je sais. Ça, c'est le genre d'affaires que tu apprends la garantie prolongée sur la source. C'est sûr. Avec l'utilisation du monde en fait. Ça? Ah oui. Moi, quand j'ai commencé à faire ça,
C'est ça qui est 60 secondes pour vrai.
Ben, ça a vraiment amélioré notre vie. Là. Not yet. I think you make them. Are they trying to bypass that?
Hello, bonjour. As you're well aware, Canadian families have the worst level of family debt in the Western world and amongst industrialized countries. And the average Canadian family, about half of them, are about $200 away from insolvency on any given month. Now, we just heard the finance minister, I was at his press conference, talking about first order of business is to move forward with tax changes. We have a better idea. What we are proposing, and we've written to the finance minister today, is to basically cap tax changes that the Liberal government is proposing at $90,000 per individual, scale it down following the $80,000 earnings level, and then with that, about $1.6 billion in savings, provide support to the 4.3 million Canadians who don't have access to basic dental care. We know that relieves pressure on the healthcare system, and we know that will make a terrific difference in the lives of those families. Alors, le ministre des Finances vient de proposer qu'effectivement, avec les changements, que ce sera un bénéfice autour de $600 dans quelques années pour la famille moyenne. Qu'est-ce que l'NPD propose, étant donné le niveau massif d'endettement de famille, le pire parmi les pays industrialisés, étant donné que presque la moitié des familles canadiennes ont la misère même de payer tous leurs comptes dans un mois donné, 200 $ de prêt, d'être incapables de payer leurs dettes. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on propose? C'est d'éliminer, après 90 000 $ de revenus, ce changement d'impôt et de faire en sorte qu'avec le 1,6 milliard de dollars qu'on peut sauver, de mettre en place des soins dentaires pour le 4,3 millions des Canadiens qui n'ont pas accès aux soins dentaires. Ça va enlever une partie de la pression sur notre système de santé. Et bien sûr, c'est un bénéfice qui va aider toutes les familles canadiennes qui n'ont pas accès aux soins dentaires. On estime que ce sera une différence de 1 200 $ par année qu'on mette en place ce système de soins dentaires pour effectivement fournir les soins dentaires pour toutes les familles canadiennes. Alors, je vais demander à Don Davies et Jenny Kwan de faire des commentaires aussi.
Thank you. Well, we know that Canadians are justifiably proud of our universal healthcare system, but Canadians also know that it's not comprehensive and that it is inequitable. And we know that about 1/3 of Canadians have no dental insurance whatsoever. And this is a basic primary healthcare service and a fundamental omission in our healthcare system that we think it's time to address. I was somewhat heartened to see in the throne speech that was tabled last week a reference to exploring the concept of universal dental care. And I think that what we're proposing here today is an effective down payment on a universal dental care system. We know that we could help families save an average of $1,200 per year by implementing the New Democrat proposal. And we also know that it's far past time that this very basic oral health care need is met. Unmet dental care needs results in cardiac problems, low birth weight among women, diabetes complications, and it costs our healthcare system many millions of dollars down the road when people don't get access to basic treatment. So I think that what we're proposing here today is not only a very positive healthcare measure, but it's something that will bring very important financial benefits to Canadians. I'll conclude just by commenting that dental care is something that we heard very strongly from Canadians this election, that they would like addressed, and I think that this is a very positive way that we can get a start on this. Thank you.
Just to put a human face to what the NDP is proposing. As we've heard from Peter and Don, that this proposal that we're offering will affect some 4.3 million Canadians so that they can access dental services. During the course of the election campaign, we knocked on thousands of doors. I, in Vancouver East, came across seniors who are pensioners, as an example, and where they don't have proper dental care, and some of them actually need dentures, and they're unable to afford it. And what's happened to them? They're literally blending their food in a blender so they can drink it. Just imagine that for 1 minute, what your quality of life is like for someone who cannot eat in what we call your golden years, your senior years. You cannot eat because you don't have proper teeth. Families who are struggling. Now, this proposal will save families some $1,200 a year, a family of 4. For children who can have proper dental care throughout the course of their life, what the implications are. Aside from the real physical implications with improper dental care, there are also effects to your mental health as well. I have come across individuals who are trying to find employment, and as a result of their bad teeth, they're not confident enough to seek the employment opportunities. In fact, we try to scramble to support people in seeking jobs in addressing their teeth. So now this is a preventative measure that's good for our economy, good for our individuals, and really would improve the quality of life for Canadians. 4.3 million Canadians would benefit from this, and I hope that the Liberals will adopt the NDP plan, because moving forward, as they say in their campaign, means that we need to support Canadians who need the help. And this compromise approach in terms of the tax changes that we're offering will impact positively for a great many of Canadians. Thank you.
OK. Je vais juste terminer juste en disant que là, dans les comtés, les candidats du NPD, les députés du NPD ont vécu ça, le besoin d'avoir un système de soins dentaires. Et je vois, même dans mon comté, les gens qui en arrachent, ils ont des problèmes, des complications liées à leur santé à cause d'un manque de soins dentaires. Souvent, on ne peut pas aller chercher des emplois. Alors, dans le discours de Trône, le premier ministre dit très clairement qu'il voulait explorer, il était réceptif à ces questions de soins dentaires. Maintenant, la preuve est là. On le propose et ce sera une façon d'améliorer les propositions que le gouvernement fait. C'est ça notre rôle dans ce Parlement minoritaire.
Monsieur Julian, le directeur parlementaire du budget avait dit qu'une assurance dentaire coûterait 30 milliards de dollars par année. Qu'est-ce que 1,6 milliard peut vraiment apporter là, si ça coûte si cher que ça?
Qu'est-ce que le bureau du budget parlementaire a expliqué que là, on parle de 1 milliard et 1,8 milliard dans une première année, mais après ça, ce sera moins de 1 milliard de l'année pour fournir des services de soins dentaires pour les 4,3 millions des Canadiennes qui n'en ont pas. Des soins dentaires est différent quand on parle des soins ou un programme national pharmaceutique. C'est là où le bureau de budget parlementaire...
Le parlementaire du budget a dit un programme d'assurance dentaire coûterait 30 milliards de dollars.
Universel. Nous, on parle d'aider les gens qui en ont le plus besoin.
Donc, avec 1/15e du coût, vous pouvez vraiment toucher
oui.
beaucoup.
Le directeur du budget parlementaire a été très clair là-dessus. Et c'est ça qu'on a proposé dans l'élection et c'est ça qu'on propose aujourd'hui.
Peter Julian, on a timing question. The government is saying because they've introduced this Ways and Means motion, this tax cut could be in effect January 1. Yet there's going to be a bill. When they did this in 2016, it took right up until December of 2016 to pass that bill, and they had a majority. So here we're in a minority context. Can they just go ahead and have this affect people's paychecks January 1 when a bill hasn't passed?
Well, if Ways and Means passes, yes. But I think what I just heard the Minister of Finance say and what they were saying in the speech from the throne is that they're open to these kinds of suggestions. This would have a dramatic and positive impact in the lives of 4.5 million Canadians. And the reality is, as Don Davies said, it also relieves the pressure on healthcare funding that we're seeing. The emergency physicians in Ontario have said that it's tens of millions of dollars that we spend every year with people having to go to emergency rooms because they can't get proper dental care. So this is something that is really win-win-win, and we're hoping that the government is true to its word to being open to these kinds of suggestions.
Will you adopt the Ways and Means? Will you vote in favor of the Ways and Means?
We'll see. We'll see what the response is from the government.
Well, he was asked about it if he was interested in changing his tax changes to cap it at 90, and he said, "Well, we're listening." He didn't say what a great idea. So, assuming he doesn't change anything, then what?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We haven't had the response from the government, and we will see what their response is.
But how would it? Are you asking for an amendment to include your changes, or how is that supposed to work?
There could be many ways of doing it. We're hoping that the government is responding with the kind of openness of spirit that they said that they were going to show through this Parliament, and that they're interested in entering in a dialogue with us.
I guess we're trying to find out if it's a condition.
If it goes in its current form, the way that Mr. Morneau has proposed it, it goes to the House in its current form.
We will see what the response from the government is. And so we're not going to answer hypothetical questions. We have put a proposal on the table that will help 4.3 million Canadians. In fact, the Canadians who are most disadvantaged in our society, as Jenny Kwan said so eloquently. People right across this country are very enthusiastic about finally having access to dental services. We are hoping that the government will respond positively.
Juste pour revenir sur la question. Cette réponse-là, est-ce qu'elle doit venir dans le cadre de la motion de voix et moyens ou est-ce que vous êtes prêt à attendre? Parce qu'il nous a dit, on est prêt à les écouter. Est-ce que vous êtes prêt à attendre une éventuelle réponse sur l'assurance dentaire et aller de l'avant avec les voix et moyens?
On est prêt à avoir les discussions et on va voir où les discussions s'en vont. Il y a plusieurs façons où il pourrait dire oui à notre demande et on va voir comment il décide de répondre. La première étape, c'est d'avoir la réponse, puis la deuxième, c'est de voir les 3 ou 4 possibilités qu'il pourrait utiliser justement pour le mettre en place.
If they don't include your changes, you can't vote for it.
We will see what their response is. As I mentioned before, we put this out to the minister, and we will see what their responses are. This is just common sense. This makes a great deal of sense right across the country. 4.3 million Canadians are waiting for Parliament that will actually take action on things like dental care, and we are hoping, given that this is a improvement, I would say, to what the government's proposed, that they will be receptive and open to making those changes in their approach.
Juste pour revenir à la question de Bill Curry. Donc, ce que vous dites, c'est qu'il faut qu'il y ait un Ways and Means qui soit voté pour que la baisse d'impôt s'applique le 1er janvier. À votre avis, le gouvernement peut-il faire appliquer la baisse d'impôt le 1er janvier, mais de faire adopter le Ways and Means en janvier, en février, en mars, ou il faut qu'il le fasse avant?
Si il voulait avoir ça pour le 1er janvier, il va falloir que ça soit adopté d'ici vendredi.
Ça ne peut pas s'appliquer sans un vote, selon vous?
Mais pour la voie et moyenne, ça donne la possibilité que le gouvernement mette en place ces changements-là.
Mais il faut que ça soit voté.
Mais
j'essaie de voir
oui,
votre perspective.
en général, pour les voies et moyennes, et on rentre un peu dans la procédure, mais en général, ça soit adopté avant que ces changements-là puissent s'appliquer. Si on parle de quelque chose qui est rétroactif, c'est beaucoup plus problématique. Alors, j'ai l'impression que le gouvernement a l'intention de la faire adopter cette semaine. Maintenant, nous, on a lancé une idée qui va apporter beaucoup de bénéfices aux gens, puis on espère avoir une réponse sur peu.
Justement, puisque vous semblez poser une condition à l'adoption de l'adoption, est-ce que vous seriez à l'aise que le gouvernement fasse appliquer ça sans qu'il y ait eu de vote d'abord?
Mais là, il ne pourrait pas sans l'adoption de voies moyennes. Okay. Maintenant, l'autre question, on n'est pas les seuls joueurs dans ce Parlement. Alors, on va voir aussi les réponses des autres partis. Mais pour nous, qu'est-ce qu'on attend? C'est vraiment d'avoir une réponse positive sur quelque chose qui va aider énormément. 4,3 millions de Canadiens qui en arrachent. Alors, on espère bien, parce que tout le monde a écouté les mêmes choses pendant les élections, qu'on va avoir une réponse positive.
You mentioned the other parties. Isn't the most likely scenario that the Conservatives will support this, given that they campaign on a similar tax cut?
That's a question you'll have to ask them. Right?
Le Canada aimerait savoir pourquoi ce plafond-là, le 90 000?
Parce que le plus grand bénéfice va maintenant aux gens qui gagnent plus que 100 000 $ par année. Alors, qu'est-ce que M. Morneau propose? C'est quelque chose qui a ce plus grand bénéfice pour les gens qui sont les mieux nantis. Maintenant, si on limite le bénéfice de ce changement d'impôt à 90 000 $, on crée l'espace budgétaire, 1,6 milliard de dollars, qui peut fournir justement ces soins dentaires pour les 4,3 millions de Canadiens qui en manquent. Alors, c'est notre façon de trouver une idée, de l'améliorer, d'apporter des améliorations. C'est ça qu'on va faire pendant toute la durée de ce Parlement minoritaire. C'est ça qu'on a fait dans les autres parlements minoritaires. C'est de prendre une idée et de faire quelque chose qui va avoir un bénéfice concret pour des millions de Canadiens.
Well, why prioritize dental care over pharmacare? I mean, if you refer to this as being a down payment towards the cost of dental care, wouldn't that money be better used to fund what will eventually be a much more expensive pharmacare program?
Answer that one.
Well, I don't think it's a zero-sum game. I think Canadians have spoken loudly that they want a more comprehensive healthcare system, and I don't think they have to choose between getting the medicine they need and getting the oral health care that they need. So I think the math really works out in this. I was going to point out as well that the premiers have recently come together and spoken with one voice about their requirement that there be a stronger federal contribution in terms of health care. They point out that both Liberals and the Conservatives have capped health care funds below their rate of cost inflation, and so we're seeing cuts across this country. So we think this is a great way to address a very core health need, to start helping very vulnerable people and get a start on something that 40% of Canadians really need. I was just going to point out, we said this as well, that it's not just 4.2 million Canadians, it's not just a number, it's who is being affected. These are Canada's most vulnerable people. These are Indigenous Canadians. These are single-parent families. These are seniors. These are children. These are new Canadians. These are the people, it's a class issue here as well. These are the most vulnerable people, and so we see a great opportunity to improve on this by proposing a tax change that we think will preserve the basic structure of the tax change being proposed, but also target that money to vulnerable people. That'll also help provinces. That'll help build our universal healthcare system. It's a win-win-win.
Mr. Davies, you mentioned the premiers, but last week at the Premiers' Confederation meeting, they were very vocal about Ottawa not creating new programs in the health area if they're not prepared to pay for it. How can you assure yourself that premiers will see positively your proposal to create a dental insurance when it's a provincial jurisdiction?
With the federal government that's prepared to pay for it.
Entirely?
Well, leadership, I mean, that's how we got our healthcare system in the 1960s. It's going to take federal leadership. It's going to take significant federal dollars to work collaboratively in this federation to provide that healthcare, and that's what the New Democrats propose to do.
I do have a question about the mechanism, but I think that raises an interesting point for people who are concerned that this minority parliament is just going to end up being a spending spree. They might look at this as an example of that, another way to just spend more money, more and more programs, yes, but greater and greater expense at a time where there's a lot of potential economic uncertainty on the horizon. I see Mr. Julian wants to jump in, one of you. What would you say to those folks?
Peter, do you want to handle this as finance critic?
Sure. I mean, the reality is we've taken a different fiscal approach than other parties. The Parliamentary Budgetary Officer reported on June 20th. We lose over $25 billion to overseas tax havens, $25 billion every year. We've seen massive subsidies to the oil and gas sector, to the banking industry. We take a different approach, and the structural deficit that we have is largely because a lot of this money goes offshore. Tax dollars that should be applied and invested in Canadian families instead are used to satisfy lobbyists. So we take a different fiscal approach. Now, when we talk about things like pharmacare, that's a savings of $6 billion. The businesses across the country who are currently paying for drug plan costs, and there are advantages for Canadian families as well. So we take a different approach. Investments that help Canadian families actually make a bigger difference, and it means more money is available for families in their communities. So it's a different fiscal approach that we take. I guess I would disagree with the idea that if we don't adjust and build a fair tax system, that we're not going to have a better financial management of the federal government resources.
In terms of the mechanism, is it a financial cutoff you're looking at in terms of income, or it is literally anyone who does not have dental insurance? If I'm a small business owner or something like that, like who would actually be the recipients?
Yeah, no, our proposal was to start with families with a net income of $70,000 a year or less. And because that's we figure that's the median income in Canada, and so we'd start with the most vulnerable Canadians. Generally, Canadians who make more than that often are covered through extended healthcare plans at work. So we thought we'd start with that cutoff group.
Were you surprised that they mentioned dental care in the throne speech, and do you think they're serious about it?
I was pleasantly surprised to see it. I think it's positive to see a reference. I wasn't thrilled with the language that, I think the phraseology they used was that we will explore the concept of it, but the New Democrats put dental care on the national agenda in this last election. We were the only party talking about it. And so I think that to see that reflected in the budget, I think is a positive acknowledgement of the impact that we're having on this Parliament.
Yep. So
Yeah, I just want to add one piece to that. I think what that also indicates as well is that people at the doorsteps are raising these issues. These are very real issues. Aside from Vancouver East, I think from coast to coast to coast, people on the ground are saying to the government that we need supports, we need services, universal pharmacare that includes what we call head-to-toe care, and including dental care. Some 4.3 million Canadians would benefit from the NDP proposal. Imagine the significance of that. For every single Liberal MP, Conservative MP, Bloc MP, all of our constituents will benefit from this program. So I think the government, and I hope the government will take the proposal seriously in the spirit of a minority government, and to say, how can we work together to affect changes that are positive for everyday Canadians?
Can you just explain, where do you get this 4.3 million? Is that the Canadian Dental Association, or who tells you 4.3 million Canadians will benefit?
That's
the Parliamentary Budget Officer indicated that.
Okay, I'm just wondering where the figure came from.
Yeah.
But are you sure that the $1.6 billion you think you're going to save will be sufficient?
For subsequent?
Yeah, I'll let Peter.
For subsequent years, yes. For the first year with the PBO report, there's a slight difference, 1.8 billion for the first year, because the assumption of the PBO was that there is a suppressed demand, that people haven't had dental care for many years. So the first year it would be a slight difference of that would need to be filled, but every subsequent year it would cover the cost of that. In a sense, regular dental care, basic dental care for the 4.3 million Canadians.
$1.6 billion you're talking about, is that the year number one of this measure applying? Because there's something incremental in there.
Yeah.
So do you get $1.6 billion with the first year?
It would rise to 1.6, right? Which would cover the cost of dental care.
Year 2, year 3, year 4?
It depends on what we actually modify in terms of the federal government services that they do.
No, you're proposing to cap this at $90,000. So how much money would you save at year 1, year 2, year 3?
We don't have the figures right now, but we'll send them to you.
1.6, it's the year number 4.
Yes, yeah.
So
which
you
covers the
be
cost.
actually able to do it in the first 3 years.
We could phase it in. We are absolutely we are rigid on the results of providing that support. We are somewhat flexible in the phasing in, and that can be part of the conversations.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Aucune autre question? No other questions? We'll get the communications to send it to you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Yeah?
The CCPA has a report out today on, you can stay there.
Okay.
Just showing about, there's very little data available on wealth when it comes to Canadians, looking at visible minority status, but what little data they were look at showed a big disparity between racialized and non-racialized Canadians when it comes to wealth. So they're calling for more data, and I'm just wondering if that's something that concerns you at all.
It does, and this is something I think that the Finance Committee could undertake as well. Yeah. So if you've got information you could send to me, I'd appreciate that. Yeah. I don't have many cards with me, but you know how to reach me. Thanks very much. Merci. Thank you.